Hey, welcome to our coaching training. And so we're walking through this competency, how to lead positive and challenging one-on-one meetings with our leaders as a coach. And so, I could have this conversation, but I thought I'd bring in the big guns for this conversation. And so this is a friend of mine and a mentor of mine, Mark Howe. He is a pastor up in Las Vegas at a church in Canyon Ridge Church. And Mark oversees all of the kind of discipleship and life of his church. And so, Mark, you've been just really helpful for me and me learning how to do these one-on-one conversations with my leaders and stuff like that. So I'm excited to bring you in and you share your expertise and helping us be better as coaches in these one-on-ones. So thanks for being here with us.
My pleasure. So good.
Yeah. So Mark, explain to us or kind of remind us why one-on-one meetings are so crucial in the life of a leader and a coach relationship.
I think it really comes straight from this concept for me. I have a set of things that I want to happen in the lives of for instance, the members of a group. And I'm convinced that what happens to the leader is really instrumental in enabling things to happen in the lives of the members. So what that means a lot of times, though, is that, information can be gathered in a group meeting, like in a row, some kind of a seminar or workshop. You can have everybody receive information that way, but really life change is dialogue based. And so it is in the interaction between a coach and a leader that life change can happen. It's possible that it can happen in a small group, but it's much more likely that it happens, me to you. We're sitting there, I'm able to ask the right questions or draw out of you the things that need to be on the table in order for a good conversation or discipleship opportunity to happen. That's almost always one-to-one. Sometimes it can be in a small group, but not have the same outcome.
Yeah. And so, so again, we know we talked about in this role of coach, the importance of huddles and importance of kind of engagement. But like you said, Mark, ministry really happens in that one-on-one relationship that it's different than anywhere else in life of the church. And yeah. So as a coach, we're asking you to engage in these one-on-ones because it's mission critical to develop these relationships. This is not just a task we're asking you to do, but really carrying and shepherding people along the way. Mark, you probably have released 1,000. You probably have trained over 1,000 coaches in your time of ministry, and so if I'm a coach and I'm stepping in, you're saying, okay, I need to have these one-on-one conversations, and really, that first conversation is probably the hardest and the most awkward. If you get that first one done well, that just really propels you to do more and do. How do you do as a coach? How do you train? What do you tell coaches to how to have that first one-on-one? What do you do? How do you set it up to be successful to really carry you along the journey?
Well, first of all, one of the things that I've learned to do is understand that I'm modeling to the new coach what I want him or her to do with the people that they're coaching. So in this first conversation, I really am modeling for them what I want them to do from a practice standpoint. So that's one aspect of it. Another aspect that I feel like is very important is there is a meeting before the meeting or a conversation before the conversation that a lot of times is what is the primary stumbling block when it doesn't happen. And so what I mean by that is, let's say that your coach has a meeting set up, or you've given them the assignment to have a first meeting with their huddle, with the people in their huddle. And what tends to happen is, rather than having an assertive invitation, what ends up happening is kind of a little bit of a wishy-washy sort of thing that doesn't set the right context. So what I want people always to do is learn how to make an invite to the one-to-one. So, if it's at Starbucks, if it's over at your house, if it's somewhere at the church, whatever it is, that very first conversation, the invite, should express the purpose. There's just a lot of things to it. And, I think sometimes it's as simple as a conversation or a phone call that says, hey, Zach, I'd love to hear a little of your story. And probably I'd like to share a little of mine and answer some questions maybe that you've got about this assignment, and then I'm going to say, when is a good time this week to grab a coffee? And, would be great to have maybe 30 minutes to an hour. When is a good time for that to happen? Now, when you make the invite, it's got a purpose. You're expressing it right there, whether you're in person or on the phone. You're putting it out there what this is about, and your invite should be assumptive. You notice that I didn't say, "Is there a good time?"
Mm.
What I said was, "When is a good time this week?"
Mm.
You really, if you're going to run as a coach or in this kind of role, you need to move into the category where you're going to be assumptive about this is something that needs to happen. You're going to be assertive. You're going to put it to them in that way, and then it kind of goes from there. So that when you do have the meeting, there are some other things, some follow-up things that need to happen too before the meeting. For example, when they make the date, you need to be a calendar person. You need to put that in your calendar. You need to send them a reminder, or just a little notification. Hey, looking forward to meeting with you on that day. You need to send a reminder the day before. You need to arrive early. You need to be there in your seat. You need to text them and say, hey, can I order you a coffee? Those are the kind of things that move you from almost kind of like a recipient here, or thanks for the favor, and more to, this is going to be good for you, but you need to come on down with that in mind. Now, once you're in the meeting, now you're kind of gotten through the invite where you've been assumptive and assertive, the kind of communication in advance, firming up the time, making sure that they know where it is. You arrive early, so you're in the seat. Once they're there, I think is all about you doing to and for and with them in your conversation, the kinds of things that you want them to learn how to do, so that they can do those things with the people that maybe they're assigned to coach, right? And so when I'm sitting down with a brand new coach, one of the first things I'm going to do always is I'm going to tell them a little bit about me. Not a long conversation. I'm going to kind of give them some information, some ideas, just an understanding of me and what's important. And then I'm going to be able to turn it back to them and say, hey, tell me about yourself. Tell me, how did you get here? How'd you get into this role? Now, some of it, is contextual and I might already know it, but you want to you want to model kind of in that first conversation how it's going to go. Then, depending on the role probably that you're stepping into as a coach, you're probably going to have certain things that are part of the program for the development of the person you're developing. And so that'll kind of shape that what happens after there's that initial kind of get to know you. Does that make sense, Zach?
Absolutely. Yes. That's really helpful. I really appreciate the way you share that and you train us, because it really is modeling the one another's to that leader. And it might feel technical, or like, oh, did I send a calendar invite? Did I do these things? Like, oh no, like what you're actually doing is showing love. You're showing care for that person, and being and pursuing them to say, we are. I want to make sure, as a coach, my job is to set you up for success and to be helpful. So I really appreciate even those little things are really modeling. How do you love? How do you serve? How do you honor a person who's stepped into leadership? So I've always appreciated about you. And then that spot you said too, like sharing your story. What you're really doing is modeling vulnerability,
Yeah.
and being honest and sharing, and you're setting the tone. You set the tone, and just like you said, like what that leader experiences from the coach is how they're going to turn around and model that to their group, to their team, whoever they're leading. And so really modeling vulnerability. It's easy to, in that moment, to share your story and share all the good things in your life. Like, oh, here's my resume of how good I am. But to dig a little deeper and to share, my life isn't perfect. I'm wrestling. Here's where I'm struggling. Here's where I'm growing a relationship with God. Here's those moments where God is intervening in my life. And I just want to invite you into that. And that just sets a tone, like you said, that like, who doesn't want to be part of that relationship? I'll sign me up. I'll take that relationship any day. And so I really appreciate helping us set that tone for how to have that good conversation with the leader.
Yeah, no, I think it's really important. I put a lot of emphasis, Zach, when I'm training a new coach or I'm kind of getting a new coach started. I want them to be alert to and aware of, hey, this is what I'm doing with you, and what I want you to do with your leaders is very much the same. It's just a different version of the same thing. And so
Yeah.
one of the things that I'm going to work hard to model for them is I want them to be reliable. I want the coach, when they make a plan to do something with someone, I want them to be dependable and reliable. I want them to kind of do that hard work of the calendaring and stuff like that. When the meeting is coming to an end, when our meeting is coming to an end, because I've learned the hard way, I'm going to set the next meeting up before this one ends.
Hmm.
I'm going to do that every time because I want them to do that.
Yeah.
I want them to be kind of assume a posture of responsibility and dependability so that I can say before we end, I'm going to do certain things to make sure that a next conversation is on the radar at whatever frequency that needs to happen.
Yeah.
And then it's going to set in motion the same sort of very practical set of things that'll happen afterwards. I'll text them or email them a confirmation of the date that we set. I'll make a note in my daytimer, no longer a daytimer, on my phone, and I'll say, hey, reminder, text Zach on this day in advance of our meeting on this day, just as a reminder where we're going to do this. And, so there's just things like that. And because of the kind of moving target nature of our set of conversations we're going to have, I'm probably going to, in my follow-up text to them, the day after or the afternoon after, I'm going to say, hey, it was awesome today hearing this about your story, and I love that you've made this I will kind of commitment going forward, and looking forward to taking the next step with you, on this day and at this time.
That's great. I appreciate it, Mark. Thanks for just sharing your wisdom on helping us as coaches have that first conversation. Appreciate it very much, sir.
My pleasure. Glad to help.